While humans are nonlinear, it doesn't mean that they can't follow a process. It's just not going to be as predictable as something that is linear. So, how do people learn? Well, I have a mnemonic that I use, and it's called DT MIPS. Now, where did this come from? This came from me. And so I want to go through this process because this is how I learn. It's how people learn. And the first, what do you think the first D stands for? First D stands for desire. Now, think about it. When do you learn something? I mean, your desire to get an A, that's one. That's an extrinsic motivator. But the stronger ones are the intrinsic desires. If you have the intrinsic desire, you'll do it. A learner learns when the learner wants to learn. Now, there can be two types of motivation. External, I want to get the A, I want to get good grades, I want to go to graduate school, whatever. That's an extrinsic motivator. But it's not the one that stays. The one that stays is the intrinsic motivator. You do it because you internally want to. And so if you spend your time on getting this D right with your clients or with your customer or with your students, stay with it as long as it takes for them to get the desire, ideally intrinsic, although sometimes it's extrinsic. And schools are all about A's, and that's about an extrinsic motivator. The problem with that, it doesn't stick. People get the A and they forget it. But if it's intrinsic, you're going to keep it forever. So the desire is the first piece. Now, you can have tremendous desire. And, we're just talking off camera about cars. And one of the person here has a Kia, which now has the highest quality. And her dad has a Ford, all right? Her car is running beautifully. She loves it, okay? And the Ford has been in 6 times to get repaired. Now, what is that telling you? It's telling you that one of them is running much, much better. And what's the difference? Do you think that people at Ford are not working hard? Do you think the employees are working? Don't they have the desire to make a good car? Yeah, they both have the same desire. So desire alone won't do it. You got to have the right theory. If you don't have the right theory, I don't care. Best efforts aren't going to help you. You're as Demi used to say, that best efforts are going to kill you. Best efforts don't do it. Off you go into the Milky Way, a victim of ignorance, because you don't have the right theory. It doesn't matter how big your desire is. It doesn't matter because you can't get there with the wrong theory or one that's less predictable. And what you want is a high quality something. Well, you better have the right theory in anything, school, whatever. Now, school does not spend a lot of time here. School gets over here to this. They start you right here. Now, this, if you look at my courses, I look at how do I build a desire? What's the theory I'm going to use? What do you think the next one here is the M4. Now and this is a lot of variables here. And this is the method you use. Now, once you get the right theory and the right desire, methods are lots of methods. What happens in my courses and what I do is this, they're called super learning methods, and you play experiential games. That's just one method. I think it's a better one, but I like it because it gives people stable data. It gets them to work together, and they get to have a common experience. It's much easier for me to teach once they've gone through one of my silly games and screwed it up, because then they are sitting there with all having had the opportunity to do it right and screwing it up. And so that's what I do, is I give them a way to screw it up, and most of them do. And that's what makes me happy, is to see, then they have to listen, because what happens is they have the desire, they don't know the right theory, because I don't tell it to them until after they've done this. So the M is the method. Now, there's all kinds of methods. Now, where does school start? I mean, where does school start? It doesn't really, they put a method in, but basically it starts right here with the information. Now, the information without the desire, the right theory, and the method could be behind it, but usually it starts here. Then once you get the method, the teacher comes in with the method, and then they talk to you about the P. And the P is, once you've been given the whatever this is, whatever the subject matter is, you have another piece to this, and that other piece is you have to have a practicum is to test it. How much did you learn? You've done all this stuff, then you do a practicum to see, All right, do they have it? Now, what do? You look at the practicum and see what the outcome is. Is the outcome what you wanted? Then you've done a great job. If it isn't what you want, and that brings you to the last one, which is the S, which basically deals with the whole concept of learning how to study, how to study the difference between the practicum and what you wanted, the intended outcome. The variation is going to allow you to go back, see if you got the right theory, check the method. Okay, these are the two things, because hopefully you've got the desire already done, but you got the right theory and a method that works. And if you do, and you provide them then the information, they go out and do it, the study should be very little variation. If there's a lot of variation, there's some issues in here that you've got to study with. So DT MIFS is my idea of, and it's what I use when I look at how do I create my games, my simulations. I start with how do I get the desire, how, what's the theory I'm trying to get across. Then I say, well, all right, well, how am I going to create the method? And, a lot of people come to me and say, I got this game, tell me what it means. I said, it doesn't start with a game. The game is down at the level of method. You better have this and this first. The game will emerge based on having this right. What I realized I didn't say right here is there's the second P. The first P is the prediction. So if you've got the information and your instructor says you've done well, they are going to make a prediction that you've learned it. Now you go to the practicum. You've got to get the prediction because you've done your school. The school says you got your A and you understand it. I make a prediction you're going to do this well. Now the practicum is going to say, all right, did it work? If it worked, then the teacher's right. If it doesn't work, if there's too much variation, that's when you're studying it. And you got to go back and look at your method. You got to look at the theory, make sure the theory's right, the method. You start fixing this stuff. Anything worth doing is worth doing wrong for a little while. So what I do here is I start with what I think is going to work. I look at the variation in the outcome, and then I change and tweak the method, and hopefully the theory's right. So it's usually right around here that I need to work on it. And my courses look like they're really cool, but when I first start, most of them games have a lot more variation than the ones that people have played thousands of times. I learned from Bucky a long time ago that the bigger the picture, the more accurate your prediction. There's nothing in a caterpillar, if you just study a caterpillar, will ever tell you about scenario butterfly. So my entire life, I'm working as much as I can to be a comprehensivist. That is interested in everything, so I can make better choices, better decisions, and have a better perspective. What can I do for you?